The fluorescent lights in the intensive care unit corridor buzz softly above Ava Cole, but she hears only the echo of her own heartbeat. It feels as if someone has dropped her into deep, dark water. The hospital smell of disinfectant burns her nose. Her hands shake around the thin sheet of paper that could decide her son's life. Critical condition notice. Her 5-year-old boy, Noah, lies behind the glass wall, tiny body swallowed by white sheets and tubes. The monitors beside his bed draw pale green lines that rise and fall, a fragile proof that he is still here. Ava bites down on the inside of her cheek until she tastes blood. The doctor's voice keeps replaying in her head. His leukemia has relapsed. We need a bone marrow transplant as soon as possible. Then came the words that made Ava's knees almost give out. Because he has a very rare blood type, the best possible donor is an immediate blood relative. The father has to be tested. Noah has the same blood type as Ava. Both of them are Rh negative AB type, the so-called panda blood that almost no one has. Somewhere in this city, maybe in this world, only a handful of people can match him. One of them is his father, the man who threw her out like trash 5 years ago. The man who never knew his son existed because he never wanted to listen. Ethan Walker. Her fingers hover over the call button on her phone. She stares at his name on the screen for a long time, throat tight. The last time she saw him, his eyes were full of disgust and rage. He had believed the worst of her without a single question. Today she has to beg him anyway, because Noah is all she has, and she will burn the world down if that is what it takes to keep him alive. A nurse walks past, glances at the paper in Ava's hands, and lowers her voice. Ms. Cole, the lab is preparing tests for possible donors. Have you contacted any relatives? Ava swallows hard. My parents passed away years ago. There is only his father. The nurse nods with quiet sympathy, then leaves. Ava exhales slowly and finally presses the call button. The line rings once, twice, before someone answers. The familiar deep male voice hits her like a punch to the chest, cold and impatient. Ethan Walker. Ava grips the phone so hard her knuckles turn white. It is Ava, she says. Her voice scratches in her throat. Ava Cole. There is a beat of silence, then a snort of disbelief. Ava, you have some nerve. I thought you disappeared with that bastard of yours. What, did your sugar daddy run out of money? Her heart twists. She forces herself to ignore the insult. I do not have time to argue with you. My son is in New York Presbyterian Hospital. He has leukemia, and he has panda blood. Ethan, he needs a bone marrow transplant. You are the only possible match. The other end of the line goes quiet. When Ethan speaks again, his tone is different, sharp with suspicion. Panda blood. Yes, Ava says. Rh negative AB. Same as me. Same as you. He lets out a short, humorless laugh. You expect me to believe that the kid you had after you ran off is actually my son just because he has the same rare blood type? You always were good at lying when it was convenient. Ava closes her eyes. 5 years of swallowed rage press against her chest. This is not the time for anger. Noah's face floats in front of her eyes, pale and brave and trusting. Please, she says. Noah is 5. He is sick and he is scared. I am begging you, Ethan, just come to the hospital and get tested. If you are not a match, I will never bother you again. What is his last name? Ethan asks suddenly. Her grip tightens. Cole. So you named the kid after yourself. He says. How very independent of you. She hears muffled voices behind him, the clink of glass, music. He is at some party, probably, wearing a custom suit, and drinking expensive whiskey, while she stands here in worn jeans and sneakers with hospital dust on the solace. After a long pause, Ethan speaks again, voice clipped. Fine, text me the address. If this is some scam, Ava, I swear you will regret it. The call ends with a crisp click. Ava lowers the phone and leans back against the cold wall, legs weak. The corridor feels too long, too bright, like a tunnel that leads to nowhere. Lena. She whispers, opening another chat window with shaking fingers. Her best friend answers almost immediately. Tell me you are not still at the hospital. Ava types back. I called him. There is a short pause. Then Lena sends a string of shocked emojis, followed by words. You called Ethan? Is he coming? He said yes. Ava writes. But he thinks Noah is not his. She adds one more line. I need you here. On my way. Lena replies. Do not break down before I arrive. That is an order. Ava puts away her phone and presses her forward against the glass wall of Noah's room. Inside, her son lies perfectly still, a small astronaut in a galaxy of wires. Baby. She whispers. Hold on. Mama is going to bring your dad here, even if I have to drag him across the city myself. Half an hour later, Ethan Walker arrives. The corridor seems to contract around him. He walks toward her in long, unhurried strides, the kind of man who owns every space he steps into. His dark suit fits his broad shoulders perfectly. The cool arrogance in his face is a familiar blade, one that once made her heart race with admiration. Now it just cuts. Two men follow close behind him, serious-faced bodyguards in dark jackets. There is also a private doctor in a white coat, carrying a medical case. Ethan stops a few feet away from her. His gaze drops to the crumpled critical notice in her hand, then lifts to her face. Ava. He says her name with a distance that hurts more than any insult. She straightens her back. Thank you for coming. I am not here for you, he says. His eyes slide past her to the child on the bed. So this is the boy. Something flickers across his expression when he sees Noah's face, an almost invisible crack in his icy mask. Noah has Ava's soft dark hair and big eyes, but the shape of his mouth and the line of his jaw are painfully familiar. Almost like a miniature copy of Ethan. Ava sees the recognition in his eyes and hates that a tiny, stupid part of her feels relieved. Yes, she says, forcing her voice to stay steady. This is Noah. How old is he? Ethan asks. 5. He does the math in his head. She sees the exact moment he reaches the answer. 5 years. The same number of years since he threw her out of his penthouse in front of half of Manhattan. He shoves his hands into his pockets. And when exactly were you going to tell me I have a son? He asks. When you were the kind of man who might care. Ava fires back before she can stop herself. For a second, shock flashes in his eyes. Then his jaw hardens. Doctor, he says without looking away from her. Prepare the tests. His private doctor steps forward and nods politely at Ava. Ms. Cole, we will need saliva and blood samples from both you and the child. He explains. This will help confirm the blood type and run an immediate match test. Mr. Walker has also ordered a full DNA test. Ava's stomach drops. DNA test. She repeats. Ethan finally looks at her properly, eyes cold and sharp as a knife. You want my bone marrow? He asks. You want me to risk my health for a child who conveniently appeared after you ran off with another man? We will do this the right way. I want proof. Ava laughs, a short, broken sound. You still think I cheated on you? She says. After everything. You were caught in another man's arms. Ethan says. You were seen in his apartment more than once. You expect me to erase that from my memory, because you are crying in a hospital now? Ava's hands clench at her sides. The old scene plays behind her eyes like a film she never asked to watch again. The soft lights of Ethan's penthouse. The rain outside the window. Sophia in a silk robe, tears sparkling on her cheeks. The photos on the coffee table, printed in cruel high definition. She shakes the image away. We can talk about the past later, she says hoarsely. Right now my son is dying. Take whatever samples you need. I have nothing to hide. The private doctor nods. We will be quick. A nurse wheels a small tray toward them. Ethan signs a consent form with a stroke of his pen that looks almost angry. He rolls up his sleeve in one fluid motion, exposing a lean, muscled forearm. Ava remembers the way those hands once traced idle circles on her skin, while he murmured promises he never meant to keep. The nurse draws blood from Ethan first, then from Ava. When it is Noah's turn, Ava goes into the room to hold her son. Noah blinks sleepily as the needle slides into his tiny arm. He searches for her face with clouded eyes. Mom. He whispers, voice barely more than air. Does it hurt you too? Ava's heart shatters. No, baby. She says, pressing a kiss to his forehead. I am right here. I am not going anywhere. Ethan stands at the doorway, watching through the glass. His expression is unreadable, but his fingers curl into fists at his sides. When the nurse is done, Ava tucks the blanket around Noah. Sleep a little, she whispers. When you wake up, everything will be better. She steps back into the corridor and meets Ethan's gaze head on. The results will take some time. The private doctor says. We will run an urgent panel for blood type and marrow match, and the DNA test will be rushed as much as possible. It may still take until tomorrow for a fully confirmed report. That is too long. Ava blurts out. He does not have time. The doctor's voice softens. We are doing everything we can. The panda blood factor makes things more complex, but his vitals are stable for now. Ethan checks his watch. I will stay until we have preliminary results. He says. If there is even a chance that the boy is mine, I am not walking away. Ava laughs again, bitter and raw. How noble of you, she says. You threw me out when I was pregnant, Ethan. You never gave me a chance to explain. You decided I was guilty and walked away like I was nothing. Do not pretend this is about responsibility now. His jaw tightens. You can keep hating me, he says quietly. But if that child is mine, I will not let him die. Ava turns away, arms wrapped around herself, as if she can hold in the pieces that keep breaking. Behind her, the elevator doors slide open with a soft chime. Lena steps out, breathless, hair slightly messy from rushing up the stairs. She takes one look at Ava's face, then at Ethan and his men, and her eyes narrow. Well, she says. If it is not the king of walking red flags. Ethan glances at her, then dismisses her with a flick of his gaze. And you are? The person who helped Ava survive after you threw her out. Lena snaps. So do not talk to me unless it is absolutely necessary. Ava reaches for her friend's hand, squeezing hard. Lena, not now. Lena softens and pulls Ava into a quick hug. Fine. She mutters. I will be quiet. For Noah. They sit together on the hard chairs in the corridor, waiting. Time stretches like chewing gum. Nurses pass by. Machines beep. Somewhere a child cries. The world continues to spin while Ava's universe hangs by a single thread of lab results. Ethan stands by the window, phone pressed to his ear as he barks orders at someone from his company. He looks every bit the ruthless heir of the Walker Group, the man who signs contracts that move markets and crushes competitors without blinking. For a fleeting moment, Ava wonders what he would look like standing by a soccer field, clapping for his son, laughing at a missed goal. She shakes the thought away. That world never existed. Hours later, the private doctor returns with a slim folder. Mr. Walker, he says. Ms. Cole, I have the preliminary blood work. Ava jumps to her feet. Is he a match? She demands. The doctor glances between them. Your blood types are the same, he says. Rh negative AB. The markers look very promising. There is a high probability that Mr. Walker is a compatible donor for Noah. Ethan exhales slowly. Some of the color drains from his face. But, the doctor adds, we will not proceed with surgery until the DNA test confirms paternity and we complete a full risk assessment for the donor. So we wait. Ethan says, voice rough. Yes. The doctor replies. We wait. Ava closes her eyes. Her hands curl into fists. She has already waited 5 years for justice that never came. She can wait one more day for the truth that might finally burn the lies to ash. She just hopes her son can wait that long too. Rain hits the glass of Ethan's penthouse windows in a steady drum, turning the city into a blur of gray and gold. 5 years earlier, Ava had stood in this very living room with bare feet on cold marble, wrapped in one of Ethan's shirts. She had thought the storm outside was dramatic background noise for a love story. Now she remembers it as the sound of something cracking. Sophia Taylor had been her closest friend since college. A soft-voiced girl with elegant manners and eyes that always seemed a little watery, like a permanent filter of vulnerability. When Sophia collapsed at brunch one day, knocking over her champagne flute, and turning as white as the tablecloth, Ava had screamed for help before anyone else even moved. Ethan had rushed Sophia to the hospital in his car, breaking 3 traffic rules and almost killing a red light. It had felt like the right thing for him to do. At the time, Ava had not been jealous. She had been worried for her friend. The doctor came out with a grave expression and a stack of charts. Miss Taylor has a rare blood disorder, he said. Her red blood cells are unstable. She will need frequent transfusions. Without them, her organs may fail. Ava remembers how Sophia looked in that hospital bed, hair spread around her like a dark halo. I am going to die, she had whispered, tears slipping down her cheeks. No, you are not, Ethan had said, voice hoarse. We will do whatever it takes. The doctor had asked about family blood matches. Sophia shook her head, lip trembling. My parents are gone, she said. No siblings. Then the doctor mentioned it. Her blood type is Rh negative AB. Ava had blinked. That is mine too, she said. The doctor's eyes had widened. Then you may be a perfect donor, he said. Ethan had grabbed Ava's hand. Please, he had said. You do not have to, but if you do this, you might save her life. Ava had not hesitated for a single second. Of course I will do it, she had said. She is my friend. Her veins had always been a little shy. The nurse had to search for a minute before the needle slid in. Ava had watched the dark red line fill the bag, thinking about the nights she and Sophia had shared in college, whispering over cheap wine about their dreams. Sophia wanted a family, a safe home. Ava had wanted to design jewelry that did not just sparkle but told stories. Ethan had kissed her forehead when the donation was done. "You are incredible," he had whispered. "I do not deserve you." Ava had smiled, dizzy with love and exhaustion. The next day, the world started to tilt. Walking past a consultation room on her way to bring flowers to Sophia, Ava had heard laughter. Not the laughter of someone in pain. A smooth masculine chuckle, followed by the light, familiar lilt of Sophia's voice. She had stopped by the half-open door without really thinking, then gone still. Inside, Sophia sat up on the bed, no four in sight, her face flush with healthy color. Across from her, a man in his late 50s in an expensive suit poured coffee into paper cups. Harvey Walker, Ethan's uncle, a board member of the Walker Group. "You pulled it off nicely," Harvey had said. "Fragile and tragic suits you, my dear." Sophia had giggled and accepted the coffee. "I had to look sick enough to move Ethan," she said. "He is too soft where you are concerned. He would never agree to push out that little designer girlfriend of his unless he thought she was a threat to me." Ava's fingers had tightened around the flower stems until thorns dug into her skin. "Do we really need her blood?" Sophia had asked. "It hurt, you know." Harvey had waved a hand. "That girl's blood is valuable," he said. "Our labs think panda blood will bring in a fortune once we crack the formula for synthetic versions. Ethan would never donate enough himself. He has board duties, public appearances. We needed a source that will give and give without question." Sophia had made a face. "She is annoyingly loyal," she had said. "Simple, in a way." "Precisely," Harvey had replied. "We will store what we need and leave just enough for your little performance. Do not worry, you will not actually die. At least, not before we are done with you." They had both laughed. Ava had felt the ground move under her feet. Her breath had come in short bursts. She had stepped back from the door before either of them could see her and stumbled down the hall, flowers shaking in her hands. The realization had hit her in hot, sick waves. Her blood had never been about friendship. It had been a business asset. Her friend had never been dying. She had been acting. Ethan had not been in that room. The part of Ava that still loved him told her he did not know. The part of her that already knew betrayal was curling and decided she needed to figure it out before her heart made decisions again. She had planned to tell him everything that night. The rain had been heavy, thunder rumbling above the city. Ava had let herself into his penthouse with her key, hair damp from the storm, a folder of hospital printouts tucked under her arm. She had opened the door and walked into a scene that burned itself into her memory. Sophia on the couch in a silk robe, cheeks flushed. Ethan standing over the coffee table, fists clenched, eyes dark with fury. On the glass surface lay a stack of photos. Ava had picked one up with numb fingers. In the glossy rectangle she saw herself blurry and off balance, caught with another man's arm around her shoulders at the entrance of an apartment building. In another photo, that same man held her wrist in a way that could be read as intimate if one wanted to. She remembered the night now. A drunk client she had escorted out of a bar. He had stumbled. She had grabbed his arm to keep him from falling. That was all. But photos did not show context. They showed angles. Sophia had covered her mouth with a trembling hand. "Ava," she had whispered. "How could you?" Ethan had not shouted at first. That made it worse. He had stared at her with a calm so cold it stole the breath from her lungs. "How long?" he had asked. She had dropped the photo back onto the table. "It is not what it looks like," she had said. "Ethan, listen to me." The classic line. Harvey had said from the armchair by the window, where she had not seen him at first. He had smiled without humor. "You young people have no imagination." "Harvey," she had started, but he had simply stood and straightened his jacket. "If you will excuse me," he had said to Ethan. "Family matters are best handled in private." He had walked past her with a little smirk. "Be careful with your blood," he had whispered as he passed. "It is more precious than you think." The door had clicked behind him. Ethan had held up one of the photos. "You disappeared for hours that night," he had said. "You turned off your phone. And now I find this. I was dealing with a client who drank too much." Ava had said, throat tight. "His name is on the contract. Ask my boss. Ask the bartender." "Do you think I am stupid?" Ethan had snapped, the calm shattering. "We checked. That man does not exist in your company's history. There is no record of any meeting with him." Ava had stared at him, shock cutting through her fear. "What?" Sophia had sniffled. "Ethan, please do not get so angry," she had whispered. "Maybe Ava did not mean to hurt you. Maybe she just, you know how it is in this city. Temptation is everywhere. Ava had turned on her. You. She had said. You liar. You are not sick. I heard you with Harvey at the hospital. You used me. Sophia had recoiled. How can you say that? She had cried. You must have misunderstood. I am dying, Ava. I would never lie about something like that. Her eyes had filled with tears again, perfectly timed. Ethan had stepped between them. You accuse her while you are the one in those photos? He had snarled. Get out. Ava had felt the word like a slap. No, she had said. I am not leaving until you listen. Security. Ethan had called into the intercom. Escort Ms. Cole out. She no longer has permission to be in this building. The guards had come, faces carefully blank as they took her by the arms. Ethan. Ava had shouted, struggling. I am not lying. She is working with your uncle. They are using my blood for some lab. They are playing you. He had not looked at her. We are done. He had said. Whatever we had ended the moment you stepped into another man's bed. I did not. She had screamed. The guards had dragged her to the elevator. Her key had been taken from her hand. The penthouse door had closed in her face with a quiet, final click. 2 weeks later, she had realized her period was late. The pregnancy test had turned positive in the small bathroom of the studio she shared with Lena. She had sat on the closed toilet lid, staring at the 2 red lines that changed everything. Lena had found her there, white-faced and trembling. Is it Ethan's? Lena had asked. Yes. Ava had whispered. You have to tell him. Lena had said. Ava had laughed, a dry, broken sound. He does not even pick up my calls anymore, she had said. The last time I went near his building, security threatened to call the police. So what are you going to do? Lena had asked. Ava had placed a hand over her flat stomach. I am going to have this baby, she had said. Even if the whole world calls him a bastard, even if I have to work 3 jobs and sell my jewelry on the street, he will know he was wanted. She had named their son Noah because it meant rest and comfort in a world that had given her none. She never told Ethan. Not because she wanted to punish him, but because she could not stand the idea of seeing that same cold contempt in his eyes again. Now, 5 years later, the child he did not know he had is fighting for his life. And Ethan is down the hall, pacing, waiting for a piece of paper that will tell him how deeply he misjudged the only woman who ever truly loved him. The next morning feels like it belongs to a different lifetime. Ava has not slept. She spent the night in the narrow recliner beside Noah's bed, fingers woven through the railings, listening to every change in the rhythm of his breathing. When dawn finally slips gray and thin through the high windows, Lena brings her coffee so strong it could wake the dead. You look like something the subway ran over, Lena says softly. Thanks, Ava murmurs, but she manages a tiny smile. Lena glances toward the waiting area, where Ethan sits with his elbows on his knees, face buried in his hands. His suit jacket is off, tie loosened. He looks nothing like the unshakable corporate prince in glossy magazines. Does he know yet? Lena asks. No, Ava says. The full report is still in the lab, they said morning. Lena lowers her voice. And you are still going to drop that recording on him? Ava nods. He asked for proof. She says. He is going to get it, all of it. 5 years ago, in the mess of that night, Ava had almost dropped her phone. Instead, she had accidentally hit the voice memo button while standing outside the hospital consultation room. She had not realized until later that the phone had captured every word of Sophia and Harvey's conversation. It had taken her months to work up the courage to listen to it. By then, Ethan had already ruined her reputation within their social circle. No one wanted to hear her side, but the file still lived in the cloud, silent and patient. Now, finally, it will speak. Around mid-morning, the private doctor returns, his expression more serious than before. In his hand is a thick envelope. He gestures toward a small family consultation room. Mr. Walker, Ms. Cole. He says. We should talk in private. Ava's legs wobble as she stands. Ethan rises too, face drained of color. Lena squeezes Ava's arm. Do you want me to come? She whispers. Wait here. Ava says. Stay with Noah. The consultation room is small, with pale green walls and a table that has seen too many such conversations. Ethan and Ava sit across from each other, leaving a gulf of empty space between them. The doctor places the envelope on the table and sits down. This is the full DNA report, he says. I will get straight to the point. He opens the envelope, pulls out the printed report, and slides it so they both can see. Based on the analysis of multiple genetic markers, he reads, The probability that Mr. Ethan Walker is the biological father of Noah Cole is 99.99%. The words hang in the air. For a moment, no one moves. Ava lets out a breath she did not realize she was holding. It comes out as a shaky laugh and a sob tangled together. Ethan stares at the paper, eyes wide as if he has forgotten how to blink. 99.99. He repeats slowly, as if his brain is struggling to wrap around the numbers. The doctor continues, gently. In addition, the match profile confirms that Mr. Walker is not only a suitable bone marrow donor, but also one of the best possible candidates we could hope for. The sooner we schedule the procedure, the better Noah's chances will be. Ethan swallows. What are the risks to me? He asks. Every surgery carries risk. The doctor says. But bone marrow harvest is a well-established procedure. There will be pain and some recovery time. Overall, the risk is minimal compared to the potential benefit for your son. Ethan flinches at the word, son. He presses his fingertips to his temples. Give me the consent forms. He says. I will sign whatever you need. Ava's chest aches. For a moment she sees the young man he used to be, the one who brought her coffee at 3 a.m, while she worked on her first big design, the one who once said he wanted a dozen children, all girls, so he could spoil them. The memory is dangerous. She pushes it away. The doctor nods and stands. I will prepare the paperwork. He says. We will aim to operate as soon as we have a surgical slot, and Noah's vitals are optimized. He leaves the report on the table and exits, closing the door softly behind him. Silence fills the room. The hum of the air conditioning sounds too loud. Ava stares at the black letters and numbers on the report. Proof. Hard, cold proof. She reaches into her bag and pulls out her phone. I will send you the file, she says. Ethan looks up, confused. What file? The one where your dear uncle and your sweet Sophia discuss using my blood and framing me, she says. You wanted proof. I came prepared. She taps the screen, opens the old recording, and hits play. Harvey's voice pours out of the tiny speaker, smooth and smug. You pulled it off nicely. Fragile and tragic suits you, my dear. Then Sophia's response, sweet and poisonous. I had to look sick enough to move Ethan. He is too soft where you are concerned. He would never agree to push out that little designer girlfriend of his unless he thought she was a threat to me. The recording continues. Every word a nail in the coffin of the lies Ava has lived under for 5 years. When Harvey talks about panda blood as a product, Ethan's face drains of color. When Sophia calls Ava simple and loyal, something in his jaw flexes. By the time the recording ends, his hands are shaking. How long have you had this? He asks quietly. Since that day, Ava says. I accidentally recorded it when I walked past the consultation room. I was going to show you, but you did not give me a chance. You believed the photos and threw me out before I could even say a full sentence. Ethan slumps back in his chair, as if someone has taken out his spine. Those photos. He says slowly. We checked the man's background. There was nothing. No records. No credit lines. I thought that proved he was some random lover you picked up. Did you ever consider that the records were erased? Ava asks. You have a family full of people who can bury anything they want inside this city. Your uncle sits on the board of your company. Did it never occur to you that he might also sit on your life? Ethan covers his mouth with his hand. His eyes are shadowed, haunted. I wanted to trust you, he says, voice hoarse. Do you have any idea how hard it was for me to even fall in love with someone in the first place? And then those photos came in. Anonymous email, detailed timeline. Harvey said the board was already nervous about me letting a jewelry designer into my life. He said if I stayed with you after a scandal like that, they would push to remove me. So you sacrificed me to keep your throne, Ava says. His head snaps up. I did not see it that way then. He says. I thought you had betrayed me. And did you ever ask me? She says. Did you ever look me in the eye and say, Ava, explain? No. You chose to believe the worst version of me, and the best version of them. He flinches. I was wrong. He says. The words seem to cost him. About you. About them. About everything. Ava smiles, but there is no humor in it. Congratulations, she says. You have reached the conclusion I screamed at you while security dragged me out. 5 years late. He winces. You were pregnant. He whispers, horror creeping into his voice. When I threw you out, you were already carrying him. Yes, Ava says simply. Of course you did not know. You never stuck around to ask why I was sick and dizzy for weeks. You never answered any of my calls. He presses his hand flat on the table, as if he needs to anchor himself. I do not expect you to forgive me, he says. I do not even know how to begin to apologize. But Ava, I swear to you, I will fix this. I will destroy Harvey. I will drag Sophia into the light. I will make them pay for what they did to you and to our son. Ava's laugh is soft and deadly. You think you still have that right, she says. You think you can just walk in now as the avenging hero, because you feel guilty, and the DNA says you are a father. His shoulders stiffen. I am his father, he says quietly. No test made that true. It always was. I was just too blind to see it. She leans across the table, eyes burning. Fatherhood is more than blood, she says. You were not there when he took his first breath. You were not there when he had his first fever. You did not hold him while he cried over scraped knees. You did not work double shifts while designing custom pieces at night just to pay for his treatments. Her voice shakes, but she does not look away. You have one chance now, she says. Save his life. That is the bare minimum. As for the rest, you do not get to center yourself in this story anymore. You are not the hero. You are the man who helped the villains without asking a single question. He swallows, throat working. What do you want from me? He whispers. Ava sits back, wiping a stray tear with the heel of her hand. I want you to sign every consent form the doctors put in front of you, she says. I want you to walk into that operating room and do whatever they say. I want you to help me collect every piece of evidence against Harvey and Sophia, because you have access I do not. And when this is over, I want you to stay away from my life unless it is about Noah's health or legal rights. His jaw tightens. You would keep me out of his life? He asks. I would protect him from your kind of love, she says. The kind that turns to hate at the first sign of trouble. The kind that trusts everyone but the person who actually cares. His eyes flash with pain. You will not even give me a chance, he says. You had your chance, she says. You set it on fire. The door opens before he can answer. The doctor returns with a stack of forms. We have an operating room available this afternoon, he says. If you sign now, we can begin preparing both of you for the procedure. Ethan takes the pen the doctor offers. His hand trembles as he signs his name on each page. When he is done, he looks up at Ava. I will save him, he says. If it is the last thing I do right in this life, I will do this. Ava nods, expression unreadable. Then we have an agreement, she says. After that, we will talk about justice. The hours before surgery move in a strange blur. Ava watches through the glass as nurses prep Noah, checking lines, adjusting drips, whispering gentle words. Her heart aches so fiercely that she has to grip the railing to stay upright. Lena stands beside her, hands in the pockets of her leather jacket. Do you trust him to go through with it? Lena asks quietly, nodding toward the other side of the corridor where Ethan speaks with another doctor. I trust that he loves his own bloodline enough to protect it, Ava says. Not for me. For his pride. That is not trust. Lena mutters. That is strategy. Exactly, Ava says. When the surgical team finally wheels Noah toward the operating suite, Ava walks beside the bed, fingers curled around the rail. Noah's eyes flutter open. Mom. He mumbles, voice thick with sedation. Who is that man? He nods slightly toward Ethan, who walks on the other side of the bed, every line of his body tense. Ava's throat tightens. That is someone who is going to help you get better, she says carefully. He is connected to us. Noah looks at Ethan with hazy curiosity. Do I know you? He asks. Ethan swallows. Not yet, he says softly. But you will. The orderly glances at Ava. We will take good care of him, he says. They stop at the line where parents must wait. Ava leans over and kisses Noah's forehead. I will be right here when you wake up, she promises. Promise, he whispers. Promise, she says. They roll him through the doors. They close with a soft, terrifying click. Ethan disappears into another prep room with a nurse, where they will sedate him and insert the needles that will draw out the marrow his son needs. The next hours are some of the longest of Ava's life. She paces, sits, stands, paces again. Lena tries to distract her with terrible hospital coffee and gossip about their tiny jewelry studio, but Ava hears only every tick of the clock. Finally, the surgeon emerges, mask hanging around his neck, expression calm. The procedure went well, he says. Both patient and donor are stable. Noah will be in recovery for a while, then back in intensive care for close monitoring. The next few days are critical, but we have done everything we can. Ava almost collapses with relief. Lena grabs her before she hits the floor and helps her into a chair. And Mr. Walker? Ava asks, forcing her voice to work. He is in post-operative recovery. The surgeon says. He will have pain and fatigue, but no major complications so far. He will need to rest. Ava nods. Thank you. She whispers. When she finally sees Noah again, he is pale but breathing on his own. There is a different kind of line on the monitor now, one that suggests hope instead of steady decline. She strokes his hair, tears slipping silently down her face. You did so well, she whispers. My brave boy. Later, when Noah sleeps again, Ava goes to see Ethan. He lies in a recovery room, propped up on pillows. For once, he looks almost human, not like an untouchable corporate icon. He is tired, eyes shadowed, and foredrip in his arm. She stops at the foot of his bed. Thank you, she says. He gives a small, crooked smile. I did not do it for you, he says. She nods. I know, she says. You did it for him. That is enough. He studies her face. Are you always this harsh? He asks. Or is this my personal punishment package? Do you want the honest answer? She asks. Yes, both, she says. He huffs out a low breath that might almost be a laugh. Silence settles between them. It is less sharp now, more weary. Harvey has been moving company assets into offshore accounts for years. Ethan says abruptly. I admit I ignored the warning signs. I thought he was just aggressive with expansion. But now that I know what he and Sophia did, I can see the pattern. Ava crosses her arms. And, she prompts. And I can use that, he says. But I will need help. Someone who can see the angles I missed. Ava lifts a brow. You want my help? She asks. From the woman you thought was a greedy cheat. He does not look away. Yes, he says simply. She is quiet for a long moment. Why? She asks. Because you were right, he says. About them. About my blind spots. You did not climb your way up from nothing in this city without learning how to read people. I have spent my whole life in boardrooms full of men like Harvey. I am too used to them. You are not. The admission is raw, almost painful. Ava thinks of her little shop in Brooklyn, the one she and Lena built from nothing. She thinks of the way Harvey's type of men looked at her work as charming hobby pieces, while writing checks to established brands run by people like themselves. She thinks of the recording, of Sophia's voice dripping with false innocence. What do you have in mind? She asks. Ethan shifts slightly, wincing at the pain. The next board meeting is in 10 days. He says. Harvey has been whispering in a lot of ears. I have no doubt he plans to push a vote of no confidence in me using this scandal as an excuse. This scandal being you having a sick child you did not know about because he and Sophia lied. Ava says flatly. Perception matters more than truth in that room. Ethan says. If he paints me as reckless, sentimental, easily manipulated by emotional women, the old guard will listen. Emotional women. Ava repeats with a raised brow. He grimaces. That is how they talk. He says. Not me. Not anymore, at least. Good save. She says. He sighs. I need to hit him first. He says. Expose the fake illness. The blood theft. The illegal lab experiments using panda blood samples. If we can tie them directly to him and to Sophia, I can not only remove him from the board, but also protect the company from legal fallout by cooperating with authorities. Ava's mind clicks into motion. Strategy is a different kind of design. Instead of metal and gems, she is arranging timelines and pressure points. Who controls the lab records? She asks. Officially, a subsidiary research division. Ethan says. Unofficially, Harvey's people. Then you need an outsider who is not on any of your payrolls to poke around. Ava says. He nods slowly. I was thinking of that. He says. There is a man who has been trying to get my attention for months. A competitor in the luxury sector, but also a vocal critic of my uncle's risk-heavy strategies. He offered me an informal alliance once. I brushed him off. Ava smirks. Let me guess. She says. You saw him as a rival, and did not want to show any sign of weakness. He grimaces again. Something like that. He admits. Call him. Ava says. Now. He tilts his head. Are you sure? He asks. He could use this against us. Harvey already plans to burn you. She says. Better to choose your own fire than wait to be thrown into his. He looks at her for a moment, then reaches for his phone. The call is short but intense. Ethan outlines the situation in restrained terms, while Ava listens and occasionally scribbles notes on a paper napkin. When he hangs up, there is a tight, controlled energy in his posture. He is in. Ethan says. On one condition. Which is? Ava asks. That you meet him. Ethan says. He remembers your early designs from a charity auction. Apparently he has been trying to locate the mysterious Ava Cole, who vanished from society pages 5 years ago. Ava blinks. Why? She asks cautiously. Because he thinks your story and your talent are more valuable than any Walker board seat. Ethan says. His words, not mine. Lena will scream when she hears this, Ava thinks. But right now, she does not have the energy to process anything beyond the immediate war. Fine. She says. I will meet him, but we do this my way. What is your way? Ethan asks. A slow smile spreads across Ava's face, sharp and bright. Harvey and Sophia like performances. She says. They used drama to ruin my life. I am going to use truth as a better show. She taps the napkin, where she has written 3 simple words. Blood, lies, justice. We take this to the boardroom. She says. But we also take it to the court of public opinion. When they fall, they will not just lose money. They will lose the image they care about more than anything. Their masks. For the first time, Ethan looks almost afraid. Remind me never to get on your bad side again. He says quietly. You are already there. She replies. But if you are useful, I may let you stay in the neutral zone instead of the enemy camp. His mouth twitches. I will take it. He says. 10 days later, the Walker Group headquarters gleam under a bright New York sky, all glass and steel, and reflected ambition. Reporters cluster outside the front entrance, lenses trained on the revolving doors. Rumors have already leaked about internal power struggles, about a secret child, about a board coup. Exactly as Ava planned. Remind me again why I agreed to you turning my family crisis into a potential press circus. Ethan mutters beside her in the back of the limo. Because you finally realized silence only protects the guilty. Ava says calmly, smoothing the simple black dress she wears. And because if we do not control the story, Harvey and Sophia will. Lena sits on Ava's other side, scrolling through social media on her phone. #PandaBlood scandal is already trending. She reports. People love a good rich family mess, especially if there is a sick kid and a fake white moon goddess involved. White moon goddess. Ethan repeats. It is what the internet calls the fake perfect first love who ruins everything. Lena says. You really need to get out of boardrooms sometimes. Ava hides a smile. Is Noah okay? She asks softly. Lena's expression softens. He is stable. She says. Your competitor friend booked the best private nurses money can buy. The kid is flirting with the nurse already. He said he wants to design a superhero ring when he gets out so he can fight bad guys with you. Ava's chest warms. My son has good taste. She says. In jewelry and in justice. The limo stops. The driver opens the door. Ethan steps out first, cameras flashing in his face. For once, he does not hide behind sunglasses. He lets them capture the dark circles under his eyes, the tension in his jaw. Ava follows, Lena at her side. Microphones thrust toward them. Mr. Walker, is it true you hid a child from the public? Ms. Cole, were you Ethan Walker's mistress? Is it true your son's rare blood was used in illegal experiments? Ava meets the sea of curious eyes, and does something she has never done in front of cameras before. She smiles. I will answer your questions, she says. But not here and not now. Today's board meeting is about one thing only, accountability. When it is over, you will have more than enough material for your headlines. With that, she turns and walks into the building, head held high. The boardroom on the top floor is an exercise in quiet intimidation. A long polished table, leather chairs, a panoramic view of the city that says money louder than any words. Harvey stands near the window, talking to a cluster of older directors. Sophia sits demurely at his side, in a pale blue dress that makes her look innocent and fragile. When Ava and Ethan enter, all conversation stops. Well, well, Harvey says, turning with a practiced smile. The prodigal nephew returns. And he brought his little designer and her friend. How quaint. Sophia's eyes widen when she sees Ava. For a moment, genuine fear flashes in them, before she lowers her gaze and arranges her features into wounded sweetness. Ava, she says softly. I am so sorry about your son. I have been praying for him. Ava laughs. Do not waste prayers on him, she says. Save them for yourself. You are going to need them. Harvey frowns. Watch your tone, he says. You are a guest in this room. We are here to discuss serious corporate matters. On that, we agree. Ethan says, stepping forward. His voice is clear, carrying easily to every corner of the room. Today we will discuss nothing but serious corporate matters, starting with a presentation. He nods toward the big screen at the end of the table. A technician in the corner starts the feed. The first slide appears. A title in bold letters. Internal Investigation Report. Unauthorized use of biological materials and financial misconduct. Harvey's smile wavers. What is this? He demands. Transparency. Ethan says. Something this company has been lacking. Ava steps up beside the screen, remote in hand. Good morning, she says. My name is Ava Cole. Some of you may remember me as the designer, whose work raised record numbers at your charity gala 5 years ago. Others may only know me from anonymous gossip posts as the woman who allegedly cheated on Ethan Walker and disappeared. Several board members shift uncomfortably. Today, Ava continues. We will correct the record. She clicks the remote. Slide after slide appears. Hospital records, lab invoices, internal emails that show money flowing through shell companies into a quiet research facility in New Jersey. This is the lab where my donated blood was sent, Ava says. Under the pretense of treating my friend Sophia's rare disorder. She clicks again. More documents show up. Contracts signed by Harvey, authorizing funding for experimental work on synthesizing rare blood components. None of this was ever presented to the board for a full vote. Ethan adds. All of it was disguised as routine research expenses. Harvey's face reddens. This is a misinterpretation, he says loudly. All activities were in the best interest of the company. Innovation requires risk. Does innovation also require faking a terminal diagnosis to manipulate donors? Ava asks sweetly. Sophia gasps. Ava, how can you say that? She cries. You saw my charts. You saw me in the hospital. I saw you in a hospital room laughing with Harvey about how easy it was to use me. Ava says. She pulls out her phone and taps the screen. So did my phone. Allow me to share it with the room. The speakers in the boardroom come alive with the recorded voices. You pulled it off nicely. Fragile and tragic suits you, my dear. I had to look sick enough to move Ethan A. The words echo against the expensive wood and glass. Faces around the table pale. Someone curses under their breath. Sophia stands abruptly, chair scraping. This is edited, she says, voice shrill. She hates me. Of course she would fake something like this. Ava holds up another document. This is your blood test from last month, she says. Normal levels. No trace of the supposed disorder you claimed would kill you without constant transfusions. Either you are a miracle, or you were lying then and now. Sophia's mouth opens and closes. No sound comes out. Ethan steps forward. 5 years ago, I ended my relationship with Ms. Cole based on photos and evidence presented to me by Harvey and Sophia. He says, I believed they were acting in my best interest and in the best interest of the company. I was wrong. He looks directly at the directors. Very wrong. He says, their actions caused reputational damage, legal exposure, and personal harm to an innocent woman and a child who turned out to be mine. Murmurs ripple around the table. Harvey slams his hand on the table. This is outrageous. He snaps. You are trying to shift blame for your own weak judgment. You and your street girl made your bed. Now you lie in it. Ava lifts a brow. I may be a street girl from Brooklyn, she says. But at least my conscience can sleep at night. She clicks again. The next slide shows a photo of Noah, face blurred for privacy, small arm bandaged, monitors around him. This is my son, Noah, she says quietly. He inherited panda blood from both of us. He almost died because Harvey and Sophia used that blood as a business tool instead of a human gift. They stole units that could have been used later for legitimate medical needs. They framed me to force me out of Ethan's life and out of this company's orbit so they would have complete control. She lets the weight of that sink in. Then she goes for the final cut. Here is the DNA report, she says, holding up a redacted copy, proving that Noah is Ethan Walker's biological child with a probability of 99.99%. Several directors close their eyes. One of them, a silver-haired woman Ava recognizes as one of the longest-serving members, speaks up. Is this true, Ethan? She asks. Yes, he says. His voice does not shake. He is my son, and I failed him and his mother because I trusted the wrong people. I am here now to fix it. Harvey snorts. You are here to protect your own image, he says. Do not pretend this is some noble crusade. On the contrary, another voice says from the doorway. He is finally learning what nobility actually looks like. A tall man in an impeccable dark suit walks in, flanked by 2 lawyers. His presence shifts the energy in the room in an instant. Ava's competitor ally. He smiles slightly. Apologies for the interruption, he says. But as a significant shareholder and business partner, I felt it necessary to attend. Harvey's eyes narrow. You, he says. This is a private board meeting. You have no right to. I have every right, the newcomer says calmly, holding up a file. Especially since I am the one who alerted the federal authorities to your illegal lab operations. The air in the room chills. Authorities? One director repeats. Yes, the man says. The Food and Drug Administration and the Department of Justice are very interested in unauthorized human trials, especially when rare blood types are exploited for profit. As if on cue, two men in dark suits with badges step into the doorway. Harvey Walker, one of them says. We have a warrant to search your offices and detain you for questioning regarding multiple counts of fraud, medical malpractice, and unauthorized use of human biological materials. Harvey sputters. This is absurd. He protests. Ethan, you cannot allow this. I am family. Ethan's face is carved from stone. You stopped being family the moment you decided my son's blood was a business opportunity, he says. I will not protect you. Sophia reaches for Harvey's arm, eyes wild. Do something, she hisses. You promised. The agents move forward. Harvey tries to pull away, but they are firm. Sophia grabs his sleeve and ends up being pulled along. Wait, she cries. I did it for love. Ethan, tell them. I was sick. I needed. No, Ethan says. The single word is like a door slamming. You needed money and status. You used my feelings and Ava's generosity. That is not love. That is greed wearing perfume. The directors watch as Harvey and Sophia are escorted from the room, paparazzi flashes already exploding in the hallway outside. When the door closes, silence is heavy and stunned. The silver-haired director clears her throat. I think we have seen enough, she says. I call for an immediate vote to remove Harvey Walker from the board and to fully cooperate with law enforcement on this matter. Hands rise, one after another, unanimous. When it is over, Ava feels a strange lightness settle in her chest. The battlefield looks different now. She is no longer the girl being dragged out of the penthouse in tears. She is the woman standing at the front of the room, holding the remote. Later, as she walks out of the building, reporters swarm again. Miss Cole, how do you feel now that the truth is out? Do you plan to marry Mr. Walker now that you have a child together? Ava stops at the top of the steps. I feel relieved that facts finally spoke louder than rumors, she says. As for marriage, let me be very clear. I do not need a ring from anyone to validate me or my son. We built our life without him. We will continue to do so. She meets one camera lens directly, thinking of every woman who has ever been called crazy, gold digger, liar, when she tried to tell the truth. If there is one thing I want people to remember from this, she says, it is that blind loyalty to the wrong people is more dangerous than any enemy. Then she walks away, Lena at her side, head high, heels clicking against stone like punctuation marks at the end of a long, ugly sentence. 1 year later, a cool breeze moves through the glass doors of a downtown Manhattan hotel ballroom, carrying the soft murmur of excited voices and the faint clink of crystal. The banner above the stage reads in elegant silver letters, Noah Star, Global Launch. Ava stands behind the curtain for a moment, hands pressed flat against the smooth fabric of her navy jumpsuit. Her heart beats fast, but not with fear this time, with pride. Her brand, named after her son, has grown from a tiny Brooklyn workshop into an emerging force in ethical luxury. Each piece tells a story of survival and second chances, crafted from reclaimed metals and conflict-free stones. Tonight is their biggest step yet. A global partnership with international retailers, investors in attendance, press from all over. Lena peeks around the curtain, then turns back with a grin. The room is packed, she says. If anyone had told me 5 years ago that we would be here, I would have asked what they were smoking. Ava laughs. I would have asked if we survived that long, she says. And look at us, still in one piece. Mostly. Lena's gaze softens. How is Noah? She asks. Ava turns. At the side of the stage, Noah stands with a small group of staff, wearing a tiny navy blazer and white sneakers. His hair is neatly combed, his eyes bright. A discreet medical bracelet glints at his wrist, but his cheeks are full and color sits in them where once there was only pallor. He catches Ava looking and waves enthusiastically. Mom, he calls. Do I say the line now? Soon, she says, smiling. Crazy co-host, remember? He nods solemnly. I am ready. Ethan stands a few feet behind Noah, hands in his pockets. He looks thinner but stronger than a year ago, as if the surgery and the storm had burned away whatever softness in him had belonged to ignorance. He has not asked for forgiveness again. He has not tried to play the victim. He shows up for Noah's checkups, school events, birthdays, and leaves when Ava says it is time. They have an uneasy truce. Co-parents, nothing more. Sometimes, late at night, Ava thinks about the way his eyes looked when he signed the surgery consent forms. The way he sat in the hospital chapel, head bowed, hands clasped, whispering a prayer he was not sure anyone listened to. She does not hate him anymore. She does not love him either. What exists between them is something new, something that does not have a simple word. He catches her gaze now and inclines his head. Big night. He says quietly. Yes, she says. For Noah. And for you. He adds. She shrugs. For all of us, she says. Even you. The company survived the scandal. Barely. But you are leading it in a different way now. He smiles, a little self-mocking. Turns out ethics and profits are not mutually exclusive. He says. Who knew? You did. She says. Deep down, you just needed a reason to prove it. A brutal, painful reason. He murmurs. At least you learned. She says. A stage manager gestures. 2 minutes. He calls. Ava takes a deep breath. She crouches in front of Noah. You remember what we talked about? She asks. He nods solemnly. I talk about the star necklace. He says. And how you made it when I was in the hospital. And I say I am the luckiest boy because my mom is a superhero who fights bad guys with jewelry. Ava laughs, eyes stinging. I do not remember the last part. She protests. I added it. He says proudly. It is true. She pulls him into a hug, breathing in the warm, familiar smell of his hair. I love you. She whispers. Love you more. He says. When they step onto the stage, applause fills the room. Ava walks to the podium. Cameras flash. Noah stands beside her, barely reaching the microphone. Good evening. Ava says. If you had told me a few years ago that I would stand here today in front of you, I would have laughed. At that time, I was a single mom in a tiny apartment, making rings on a hot plate while my son slept on the couch. Soft chuckles ripple through the audience. I started Lovestory because I needed to believe that something beautiful could come out of all the pain. She continues. That we are more than the worst thing that ever happened to us. That blood does not just tie us to people, it can also tie us to hope. She glances at Noah. This is my son, Noah. She says. He is the reason this brand exists. He is the reason I learned that rare blood does not make you cursed. It makes you unique. And uniqueness is something to be celebrated, not exploited. Noah steps up on the small stool placed for him, and leans into the microphone. Hi, he says. His voice echoes in the big room, a little shaky but determined. My mom made a necklace with a tiny star when I was in the hospital. She said it was so I could have my own light when everything was dark. She put her heart into it. So now I think everyone should have a star that reminds them they are special too. The audience melts. Ava's eyes blur. She blinks away the tears and continues. I want to thank everyone who believed in us. She says. The partners who took a risk on a brand with a complicated backstory. The customers who wear our pieces not just as decoration, but as statements. And yes, even the people who once underestimated us. You pushed us to prove you wrong. Her gaze drifts to where Ethan stands at the back of the room. He does not look away. As for the ones who tried to use our blood, our trust, our love as tools. She says, voice steady. You taught me the most important lesson of all. That forgiveness is not the same as forgetting. And that justice can be slow but very real. She lifts the first Lovestory necklace, a delicate piece that catches the light like a frozen wish. This is for every woman who walked out of a house that did not deserve her. She says. For every child who was told they were a mistake when they were actually a miracle. For every person whose rare heart terrified people who prefer easy copies. You are not too much. You are just not for everyone. Thunderous applause fills the hall. Cameras flash like tiny constellations. After the event, as the crowd thins, Ava stands near the hotel balcony, looking out at the city lights. Lena has been pulled into a group of admirers dissecting her bold red suit. Noah has fallen asleep in a corner chair, clutching a stuffed panda someone gave him. Ethan joins her. You were incredible up there, he says quietly. I have had practice, she says. Hospital corridors, boardrooms, press ambushes. This was just the first time I had decent lighting. His mouth curves. You know. He says. I spent years thinking power was all about controlling the narrative. Today, watching you, I realized real power is not about control. It is about standing there with your scars showing and daring people to look away first. She glances at him. Are you quoting a self-help book at me? She asks. Maybe, he says. Or maybe I am just finally paying attention. They fall silent, watching the city. Do you ever regret it? He asks after a while. Not us, exactly, just the way it all happened. Ava thinks of hospital nights, of court papers and media storms, of her son's small hand in hers. I regret trusting people who treated my life like a game, she says. I regret not recording more of what they said. I regret not walking away from you sooner. He winces, but nods. And yet, she adds, if even one thing had been different, Noah might not exist. Or we might not have caught the lab in time. Or your company might still be run by a man who thinks blood is just another commodity. So no, I do not regret the outcome. He looks at her. What about the possibility of a? He trails off, gestures helplessly between them. More. She takes a deep breath. I think about it sometimes. She admits. In another universe, where you believed me the first time, where we build a life without all this. But that is not this universe. In this one, I am tired. I want a life that is peaceful and honest for me and my son. I cannot build that with someone I will always be waiting to doubt again. The honesty is a blade between them, but also a bomb. He nods slowly. Then I will just have to be the best father I can be in the time I have. He says. Even if I am not the partner you choose. She smiles faintly. That would already make you better than most men in your circle. She says. Try not to treat that like a competition though. He laughs softly. No promises. He says. It is in my blood. They share a look, half amused, half sad. Thank you. He says suddenly. For what? She asks. For forcing me to face who I really was. He says. For not letting me buy my way out of what I did. For turning this into something bigger than just revenge. You could have destroyed me entirely. Instead, you demanded that I do better. That we all do better. She shrugs. I did it for Noah. She says. He deserves a father he does not have to hide from. And I did it for every woman who did not have the chance to fight back. He nods. I will spend the rest of my life trying to live up to that. He says. Ava looks back at the city, at the lights that once felt like distant stars, and now feel like neighbors. You know what is funny? She says. They used to call panda blood unlucky, a cursed type, too rare, too risky. And now? He asks. Now I think it is a badge. She says. A reminder that some of us were never meant to blend in. We were meant to stand out, to be harder to find and harder to break. She looks over at Noah, asleep with his stuffed panda. We are not cursed. She says softly. We are chosen by chaos and still here. Ethan follows her gaze. He will grow up knowing the truth. He says. About us. About them. About what happened. Yes. Ava says. But he will also grow up knowing that his mother never gave up on him. That when the world tried to turn his blood into a tool, we turned it into a shield instead. The night air is cool on her face. The weight she has carried for years feels lighter. She has been betrayed, framed, humiliated. She has been called names, pushed down, almost broken. But here she stands, a phoenix from Brooklyn with a rare blood type and a rarer will, a son who laughs at fear, a brand that carries their story in every spark of light. The storm that began with a lie about panda blood is over. What remains is a woman who learned to take every drop of hurt and forge it into something no enemy can ever steal. Her own future. And as the city hums below, Ava Cole knows one thing with a clarity that fills her to the brim. They will never be powerless again.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.